So this was me, a day out from comp, ready to smash it, and then the unthinkable happened. I put on 10 kilos in 10 days.
How did I let this happen?
So, comp finished a lot earlier than expected. Like I ended up getting overalls when it came to NBA, men's physique, which was absolutely phenomenal, and I loved that achievement. And my last comp, literally second in Australia when it came to NABBA. Now that is an untested comp, so it's very difficult for me as a drug-free person to be competing in something that's untested against these incredible competitors. Like, this was an absolute battle for me, but I'm so proud of my results. And I was meant to do nationals for NBA, right? And I pulled the pin. 10 kilos of weight gain in 10 days. 10 kilos in 10 days. Okay, so what happened is that after this competition, I had a little bit of food, perfectly fine. That night, perfectly fine. But next morning was actually Mother's Day. So we went out to breakfast and had a little bit of food for breakfast for Mother's Day. And then I had to go to my mother's house for the nighttime. Had a little bit of food at nighttime. The little bit of food turned into a lot of food. Addiction was real. Now, this is the first time I've ever experienced anything like this when it came to addiction. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't take drugs. I have no addictions except for gym, content creation. But I really couldn't stop. I literally couldn't stop eating. I was telling myself that's enough. I was having anything you can think of. Stuff that I was craving during comp prep: burgers, sandwiches, donuts, cookies, pizza, anything and everything I was eating. And look, you can see this is not my first comp. I've done this a lot, and I've never, ever been like this. I've been to the natural Olympia level. And after all those comps, I've never experienced something this severe before. Now, I am further along in my life, so I do feel like I am way more mature and experienced. But still, I've never experienced anything like this before. I truly believe that this was on the same level or very similar level to your standard addictions, like, drug, alcohol, gambling, those kind of addictions where you want to stop, but you can't physically stop because there's something in your brain telling you to keep going. It's really hard to explain this, but I can understand now from that point of view of people that want to lose weight but just can't mentally get there. And that is from dopamine. Now, if you haven't heard of dopamine, dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It spikes when we do something pleasurable or that our body perceives as beneficial for survival. So in my situation, I just wanted to eat because my body thinks it was going to starve again. But essentially, when you eat a cheat meal, usually like in high sugar, fat, and salt, your brain gets a huge dopamine surge because these foods are calorie dense and signal easy energy to your brain. And your brain remembers that the dopamine spikes and starts to crave that feeling again. And this is where I was going into that vicious cycle. And essentially, I was stuck within the cycle. I was eating healthy, very disciplined, but I was feeling really tired and I really wanted that dopamine hit again. And obviously the cheat meal worked. And the thing is, the brain remembers that hit. The cravings start to increase and it just becomes so much harder to stay strict. And then the more frequent this happens, the more your brain associates the pleasure with cheat food and boredom or struggling with clean foods. And it really becomes incredibly hard to balance it. And this is where you just need to work on ways to break that cycle. So, just went to the post office to pick up cameras that Nikon have sent through. Nikon Z5 II. So it's their newest one. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, stick to my camera channel if you do want to check some of these camera reviews out. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting camera. But let's talk about how you're going to be overcoming these kind of issues. And what do you do? Because if you can't physically stop eating, well, I couldn't physically stop eating until now. What did I do? Well, I gave myself a goal. So a little bit of a backstory. So we still went down to Sydney for the competition. Obviously not for the competition, but because I had already booked my flights and accommodation and, car. So we went down anyway to stay in the location. Perfectly fine. But my mindset was like, well, we're going to have a cheap meal in Sydney, so I may as well just keep eating bad food up until Sydney. And that's pretty much what happened. And I kept eating and eating and eating until literally the day we got back. So that morning, cleaned everything up. It was like a switch in my head, literally. Switched it on, back to dieting, counting my calories. It was crazy. So the thing is that the only reason why I didn't stop is because I had this particular mindset of I'm going to stop on this day. I'm 110% going to be stopping on this day. And it happened. Whether that's going to be working for you, I don't know. But you do need to give yourself at least a goal to work towards, because we do have a few things coming up later on this year that I need to be lean for, another competition. I haven't announced it yet, but we're working towards something. So essentially that is my goal. But if you are just trying to get leaner, trying to lose a little bit of body fat, you need to have some form of physical goal. Like if you're 85 kilos and you want to get down to 80 kilos and you're like, all right, I'm going to get down to 80 kilos. How am I going to actually achieve this? I need to have a certain amount of calories. This is my macronutrient breakdown, and that's how I'm going to get to 80 kilos. That's what you need to do. You have to set some realistic goals. Definitely set those goals and stick to it. Literally stick to it. And just to take it a step back, when it comes to achieving my results, I use MyFitnessPal. I did say this in the last couple of videos, but tracking your calories is the best thing that you can do. You can literally eat whatever you want as long as it fits within your macronutrient breakdown. Obviously, if you have burgers and chocolates every day, you can fit it in there. But it's not going to give you many calories left over because they're so calorie dense. It depends on what they are. Chocolates are quite calorie dense in fats and carbohydrates, a little bit of protein, but it's the fats and carbs is what gets you, because fat is 9 calories per gram. That is dense. Whereas a carbohydrate and a protein is 4 calories per gram. So they're not as dense when it comes to the size. So you've got to watch out for those high fatty foods, because that's where the calories are really going to get you. And burgers and chocolates, they're not sugar. There's a lot of fat in those foods. So you do have to take all that into consideration. But the biggest thing when it comes to weight loss is understanding what you're eating. And that is why calorie counting, or at least some form of calorie counting, definitely helps, because you're understanding how much you're putting in your mouth, how many calories are coming in. You have to understand this when it comes to losing fat, when it comes to gaining muscle. It's a calories in versus calories out. Regardless of what any kind of influencer tells you, this is the science behind it. It's physically not possible to gain weight and not have enough calories. It's just absolutely counterintuitive to science. It just does not happen.